Wait, what? What's Sean?
I found someone back here.
Oh
and, I just figured maybe you'd want to come say something.
This is not. Hi, Kevin.
How are you?
You're not in my notes, Kevin.
I just wanted to see this cool booth, and then they handed me a microphone and pushed me out here.
All right.
Wow, hey, guys.
For those who don't know, this is Kevin Feige, president and producer of Marvel Studios. Do you see all those cosplayers out there? I think
I can. They look awesome.
There was
yeah.
like a Reed Richards giving you a fist bump.
I see. Yes, nice. And a Ben Grimm. And a Robo Deadpool. That's awesome.
Thank you for stopping by the booth.
Of course.
This has been a huge weekend. This is San Diego Comic-Con, the release of Marvel Studios Deadpool and Wolverine.
Has anybody seen Deadpool yet?
Oh, yeah.
Really? That's great.
Well, if they didn't see it yet, they saw Deadpool in the sky last night.
Yes, anybody see that? Yeah, that was amazing, actually.
So I heard, a little birdie told me that maybe Marvel might have some Guinness World Book of Records style.
That's true. We did the Deadpool panel yesterday, and then we had this amazing drone show, and then this guy in this official jacket, I swear, said Guinness World Book of Records, handed us
They exist?
a plaque, yes, saying that the Deadpool character drone, the figure was the biggest fictional, there's some language that I'll get wrong, but it's the biggest fictional drone character ever made until a second later when Wolverine was made. And then that was the biggest one.
That's amazing. Like, here, you're in first place.
Yes.
Also, again, first
You're
place.
in first place.
And frankly, Galactus looked bigger than both to me.
I'm not,
Oh,
seriously.
Look, there is something very, very special about looking up into the night sky and actually seeing Galactus. I hear there's a little thing happening over at Hall H tomorrow.
We're doing a panel at Hall H, yes, tomorrow night, 6
a little
o'clock.
thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want you to spoil anything for anybody.
Are you sure? I'll just tell you right now
Look,
what we're going to do.
What do you think? Yes?
So we start... No.
Oh, come on. No, but seriously, for those, can you tell us anything that folks should be looking for? Because we're going to be waiting with
Well,
bated
I'd say
breath.
the giant Galactus in the sky was a bit of a clue.
That's
was
fair.
a bit of a clue.
And if
there was
that
a
wasn't
giant
clue,
four that also
The
came
four.
in the sky. You know, they were working on that for a very long time, and they told me, and then would you like the four to flame? I said, oh, sure.
That
What do
sounds
you
like a
mean?
fantastic
And
idea.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was unbelievable. It was a giant flaming four in a circle.
That's
in the sky.
amazing.
It was
a
awesome.
flaming
But
four.
It was flaming. It was awesome. Thanks, everybody. Good seeing you. Juggernaut.
Thank you, Kevin.
Awesome. Good seeing you. Thank you.
Everyone get excited. I want to hear a big cheer for this man. Welcome Brad Winderbaum, head of Marvel Streaming, Television, and Animation. Congratulations, because as I announced earlier, the first season is now Emmy nominated.
It exceeds my wildest dreams to be recognized that way. It really, you know, the hard work everybody put into this show, it really paid off. But the most important thing are not the nominations; it's the reaction from the fans and the love for this show that we received when we released it.
We were just talking upstairs about how this has kind of been a full circle dream come true for you for so long, because so many of us were introduced to Marvel, our love for Marvel, with X-Men, the animated series, right? And so this has been a passion project that's sort of been a long time in the making. What finally brought you to be able to bring this to life?
Well, like so many people, X-Men, the animated series, was my gateway into superheroes. It was my gateway into comics. I didn't buy a single comic book until after I started watching that show as a kid. And I still remember coming home from school and getting a big bowl of cereal and watching it. And it was at that time the coolest thing on television. And I think it just kind of, you know, stayed in my unconscious mind for years, for my entire filmmaking career. And over that time, I would meet with filmmakers, and it was always a touchstone. You know, some of the biggest filmmakers in the world, they watched that show growing up. And when I had the opportunity to make cartoons at Marvel, starting with What If, it was the first idea out of the box. And I remember going into Kevin's office and saying, you know, I think we can make more X-Men the animated series. And he was like, let's do it. If you can get that cast and you can get that music, I'm in.
I was just going to say, so we know Kevin had a few rules, right, going into this, and one of it was getting some of the original cast, which, congratulations, did happen.
Yeah, some of them are out here. They have a booth down there. Yeah, I saw Lenore over there, and Allison and Cal were over there.
Kind of like getting to reach out to some of those people, the process of bringing them back on? I imagine there was a lot of excitement for that.
I remember, first hearing their voices in early animatics and just welling up with tears in my eyes. I couldn't believe that those voices I heard as a kid were resurrected in this show.
Well, there's something to be said about the fact that X-Men 97 isn't necessarily a new series. It picks up from where the 92 to 97 series left off. Was that decision just from the nostalgia? Was it because there was a lot of comic runs you really wanted to adapt with it?
I think it's its own universe, unto itself. So it's drafting from the comic books, but our guiding principle in making X-Men 97 was to honor and continue that story that Larry Houston and the Leewalds started back in the 90s. And also do it in such a way where we could introduce new audiences to it that maybe would go back and watch the original show, or like it was for me, invite them to start collecting comics.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of Larry, I sometimes still get starstruck when meeting a lot of the creators I've been following forever now. What was it like kind of getting together with Larry Houston and Eric and Julia Lewald even, who were the original series writers, in case you were unaware? I mean, was there like a defining feeling about that? Did you know you definitely wanted them on board for this project?
It was a really early decision that if we were gonna do this, we needed the original voices involved, and they joined us as producers on the show, and were so instrumental in helping us find not just the style, but also the style of storytelling. And part of what they schooled us on was the way animation was done back in the 90s. So to achieve the aesthetic of the show, we actually had to put parameters on the way we did things so that we would, artificially create the same limitations they had in order to make something that strove to look like it was from the 90s.
No, it's great because it does have almost that clipped feeling to it, but there's so much more fluid movement now. It's almost a brighter color palette in a lot of ways. The Hasbro Pulse toys they came out with, I mean, it made it really hard not to immediately jump back in and collect everything. Do you have a lot of pieces that came out for the merch for X-Men 97? Let's talk about this shirt real quick if you want, because I have to talk about
Andy
that
Kubert
moment. And if you have not watched the X-Men 97 series yet, this will spoil it. Please go and watch it immediately. But Gambit's death, there's no other way to say that. It was such a moody, big moment. What was it like to get everyone on board to pull off such a heart-wrenching moment,
Well, if you watch the original animated series, you remember probably the death of Morph, and it was, as a kid, an incredibly impactful moment. I didn't even know you could do that on television, to be honest, but it set the tone for the whole series, because it was one of the reasons why it was so enthralling. Was the stakes felt real, and we knew we needed to do the show justice. We needed to attempt to recreate that feeling. Now it's 30 years later, and we tossed around ideas of who we would have to let go of, and there was something about Gambit that is so 90s, and so much of this show is actually about it's about a loss of innocence, and it's about persevering above your trauma. And we needed to say goodbye to a character that we would all feel, we would feel the loss. We would carry the loss with us. for the rest
incredible
of the series.
because something that even X-Men 92 did was it gave us a lot of life lessons. I felt that. I think I learned a lot of my moral standings from that show, and the fact that we can still have animation for adults and show it to all of our children now is incredible. That is cross-platform. So, real quick, I know you kind of are already working on season 2. You know, season 1 ended on a cliffhanger with some of the X-Men thrown back in time to, is it 3000 BC, I think? And some are thrown forward to 3000 AD, somewhere in there. There's a number in there. And I know we still have to wait until season 2, but is there anything you can kind of tell us about what to expect for what's coming next?
It's so hard not to spoil anything from that season. I'm neck deep in it right now, and I feel very much like I did while we were working on the first season. In that, like, this happens to me a lot at Marvel. I've got to hold on to these secrets that I just want to say out loud because I know people will love them.
It's all like your own secret thing. In 20 years, we'll all be like, we get what they were trying to do at that time. So we've gotten a lot of teasers and trailers and announcements for so much else that you were working on. There's Agatha All Along, Eyes of Wakanda. What are you kind of most excited to bring fans within those new stories?
I'm extremely excited for people to see Agatha. Yeah. It is, you know, it's a true Jack Schaefer creation. It's a fun Halloween story. It's a great adventure. It has real frightening, scary moments in a very Halloween way, and like Jack does in her work so well, you really start feeling for these characters, and it's quite moving. So that's the thing I'm most excited for coming up.
And I've been loving asking this question for all of our creators because clearly it is our Deadpool and Wolverine release. For every one of us who's not watched it, do we need to go watch it tonight?
Yes. Okay. Everybody, especially if you're an X-Men 97 fan, you're going to be very rewarded by this movie.
Absolutely. Well, Brad, is there anything else that you want to share for us today?
Just want to say thank you to all the fans. You know, you're the reason we get up in the morning, and we are fans. And the fact that I get to be a fan every day is thanks to you. So, I'm very grateful.
Thank you very much for all that you've done. So it's so great talking to you. One more huge round of applause for the man, Brad Winderbaum.
We are doing a signing of a piece by a very obviously well-known artist, but also the director of visual development at Marvel Studios, Andy Park. Man, it's been a couple big days for you.
Yeah, such an exciting time. Deadpool Wolverine. Some of you watch it already? Awesome.
It sounds
No
like they
spoiler.
liked it. Did you love it?
Awesome. I can't wait for the rest of you to see it.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and the teamwork and collaboration that the visual development team does with all of the mini productions at Marvel Studios?
Absolutely, yeah. The visual development department was formed in 2010 by Ryan Meinerding and Charlie Wen. Kevin Feige and the leadership saw that they're doing a whole connected universe, so it would behoove them to create a whole team of artists that could be in-house. It's a unique thing in the film industry, and that we can work on all the films. People that know it intimately, and then we can continue working on the film. So I've been there for the past 14 years. In 2015, I became one of the leaders. So I started leading a lot of the films, the latest one being Deadpool and Wolverine. So it's a whole group of amazing artists designing mainly the characters, whether they're digital, whether they're costumes, and also doing keyframes, which are story illustrations, to come up with the look of the films in the early pre-production part of the process.
And I love that you brought up the keyframes part. When you think about those pieces in movies that you're like, oh man, do you remember that one time that Thor and Hulk were about to go at it? You actually did one of those keyframes, that moment, to help the director see that shot. And that's such incredible work. But now we're getting to see this masterpiece. How did the team approach designing? Because in particular, you did Deadpool's suit.
Yep.
As well as some other things that we discussed in his ensemble. How do you start with that, and how many iterations do you end up going through?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's like the first thing we always do is give homage and respect to the original creators. In this case, my first boss, this place is special to me. When I was 19 years old, I got hired by Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool. So this is a full circle moment for me to be able to lead and also to design the Deadpool costume. So when I was first doing iterations, I was showing Ryan Reynolds, as well as Kevin Feige, the producers, Sean Levy, of course, the director. And then it's a process of 3 to 6 months of getting an approval to see this design. So I was doing designs of Deadpool. I did a lot of different designs on Wolverine as well. The final design you see here is done by Ryan Meinerding.
So one of the things I know about you is that you are, first and foremost, a really big fan. So I know that it's time to make some fans happy. Are you ready to do some signing?
Let's do it.
The one and only Andy Park. So let's get to it.
Give a huge warm welcome to the head of visual development at Marvel Studios. Give it up for Ryan Meinerding! All right, Ryan, good to see you, man. How's your con been so far?
Awesome. It's so much fun to be here again.
Well, good. We're really glad to have you here. Got a couple quick questions before we send you right down there to start signing. Now, in a group like this, I asked earlier when you were still backstage, we've got a lot of fans, a lot of people familiar with your work who know the history of your work as well. I'm curious for you, what's been some of the coolest or most iconic looks or some of your favorite looks of characters that you've gotten to design over your years and years at Marvel?
There's almost too many to mention. I've been very fortunate in my time in Marvel Studios. I've gotten to do things I never thought I would do, like work on Cap and Spider-Man and Wolverine. But this guy, the Mark I, is one of my favorites because it was the first one that I got to do there. It sort of started my film career and helped kickstart the studio. So he's got to be my favorite.
It's got to hold a special place in your heart.
Yep,
I
definitely.
love it. Now, speaking of the past, let's look to the future. Is there any particular character or environment or location that is like a dream location for you to design within the MCU?
Oh, geez, the future's hard to talk about at Marvel Studios. I appreciate the question, but I mean, anything in the Fantastic Four I'm super excited about. I mean, I think that entire world is going to be amazing to see, and I can't wait for everybody else to see it.
Anyone else excited about Fantastic Four? We are too. Well, Ryan, I'm going to have you head on down there. Can you give it up one more time for Ryan Meinerding?
Thank you, guys.